Hi, everyone. Welcome to the People's Planet podcast. I'm Marcel Batson Warner, and I'm a co host here. And today is my pleasure to introduce Ansu, who is a concrete technologist. I'd not really heard of one of those, so I'm really curious to hear what she will share with us today with regards to concrete and sustainability. So, welcome, Ansu.
Thank you so much, Marcel. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're very welcome. And I'm co hosting today with my colleague Usman. So between us, we'll be asking questions of Ansu about her career and her experience of being a concrete technologist and how that fits in with sustainability, which you all know if you're a regular listener. That's what we're all about here at the People's Planet podcast is sustainability in practice. So over to you, Usman, to get the conversation started.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Ansu, for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on our podcast, and it's great that we are discussing concrete again. I remember our discussion at I think it was one of the conferences,
Yeah,
storytelling
KTP conference.
conferences.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very nice to have you back. Um, so let's start here. Concrete technology and your work.
hmm
What is your day to day like? What is concrete technology? What kind of work do you do?
So, concrete technology, of course, just like the sound of it, it's actually to do with the concrete. So, it's like I would be working with different mixes, concrete mixes, which is having different composition of materials. Like when I say concrete, it is not like just cement. It would be alternative cementitious materials involved in it, like stuff like slag, which is actually obtained as a waste product from the steel industry. And there would be also fly ash, which is actually obtained as the waste product from coal industry and all. So those materials are incorporated along with the cement, and we actually make concrete. So the workability, the properties of the concrete, and how everything goes on, and the physical aspects of it. So those kind of things is actually what I work on, and trying to bring in new sustainable aspects to it. So that's actually what I work with as a concrete technologist.
That's very nice. You said wastes
Yeah.
from these industries,
hmm
so sustainability obviously being top on the agenda. Uh, it seems like concrete technology and generally speaking, with very limited knowledge, and please correct me here, it's a very energy intensive industry, isn't it?
It is actually. Yep.
So how how does how do you see sustainability in that kind of scenario where you're dealing with something that has so much embodied energy in it and embodied environmental burdens associated with by the time you start processing it and by the time the product gets to a product stage, let's say the finalized stage.
So when we actually look into the global emission of the cement industry alone, it's like 7%. So that's actually like a kind of lot from that industry alone. And like when we actually, so you were talking about the cradle to grave analysis kind of stuff. Are you? Yeah. So it's like it depends. So we are actually a precast company. So what we are actually looking is actually the raw materials, the phase from where it's actually made and it is actually bought into the company, and we actually make the products and we actually transfer it to the site. So that's actually like the analysis we actually do. So it depends on the kind of products you actually make. So most of the products would be having their carbon footprint sitting around like 300 or 200 kilograms per meter cube and stuff like that. So that's actually the kind of energy from the carbon emissions what we are talking about from this industry, like the company which I'm working with alone, on the products. So that's actually the kind of stuff it is.
200 to 300, that's quite a big number. I don't know what it is for steel. If I remember it correctly, it was somewhere around 50 or 60 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent, isn't it? something along
Yeah,
those
something
lines.
like that. Like you could actually get a
Yeah,
clear idea about it when we look in the EPD, the Environmental Product Declaration. So it
yeah.
actually talks about all this analysis and all the process involved throughout the construction of, like the phase where we start to make the product, when the product is actually bought into the company, and when we manufacture it, and when it's actually transported. So all the carbon emissions are actually calculated in the whole stage, and that's actually how we actually work with it. So yeah.
Something I want to pick up on there that you said, Ansu, the EPD,
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that I have come across
Mm-hmm.
working in the lighting industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to explore with you a bit more about the role of the EPD and who's asking for it, if you can, if you know, who's asking for it and why they're asking for it. And in your industry, do you have an alternative to the EPD? So there's a few questions there rolled into one. Um, Start where you want to, but yeah, I'm curious just to explore this whole role of EPD in the construction industry.
So, just like I mentioned, EPD is actually it actually stands for Environmental Product Declaration. So it's actually like a document which tells us about a product. The amount of carbon footprint emitted from that product, from all the analysis, just like I mentioned earlier. So it's actually like a document which we actually give to our client when they actually come and ask for a product. They would be asking like, so what's actually the carbon footprint associated with this product? So we are actually giving them like a benchmark kind of stuff. So this is actually what is emitted. And the thing is, like, we actually don't make the EPD by ourselves. It should be done by like a third party. They should actually come and do all the analysis, and we would be actually doing all the data to them. We would be doing our own calculations and stuff, and then we would actually cross check it, and we would send it across to them. And an EPD is actually valid for like 5 years. So depending on the product and depending on the content associated with it, because some of the products would be having like 50% of cement, and the rest would be alternative cementitious materials. And depending on what is actually incorporated onto the mix of that product, the value of the carbon footprint and all the sort of stuff would actually change. So that document is actually something most of the clients are asking when they're coming in, you know, for transparency as a company.
Uh, yeah, environmental declaration, EPD product declarations, something that is becoming very, very popular these days. And having working along the similar lines myself, I know how hard job it is to actually
Collect all the
collect
data.
all the data, and make it relatable in terms to get it validated. I think that's
And this is the reason I was asking, because I know in lighting we've got some alternatives. They're acknowledged as being less detailed, but it is giving an insight, and I'm wondering about why the client is asking. Is it that they've just heard about it and they feel, oh, we better get one, or are they really using it in a pardon the pun,
Like,
constructive way?
so it's actually like EPDs are generally really expensive to make, because of
Hmm.
the whole process involved. I think that might be one of the reason why they're actually looking for alternative ways of calculating the data. And there's actually something called LCA, life cycle analysis. So that's also considered, but I feel like EPDs are more like valued than LCA.
I think without much deep knowledge about these EPDs and LCAs, I think EPD is more of a, you can say, a public facing document, and LCA is more of a internal document. This is how I see it, because essentially what I have learned so far is that if you are working in SME and or even in a bigger company, it's really hard to make LCAs that are comparable to one another to get the data validated because of the IP issues. Because when you're doing LCA, you're basically opening up in your entire supply chain and your entire transformation process from gate to gate, for example.
Yeah, that's actually true, because EPD would be, it is actually completely for, it's unique for each company, because it actually comes from all the stuff the company is actually doing. But LC is actually like an open platform where you would actually get a lot of data from different resources, just like you said, Usman, from the supply chain and all. So, yeah, I do agree with what you said. Yeah.
So in all this, then, how do you see sustainability in cement industry? Well, what are your general thoughts? How are customers looking at sustainability in cement industry, and how are you as a company, not specifically you working in this field, how do you see it? What value can be provided in terms of sustainability, in terms of these LCAs and EPDs? How do you tackle the problem of sustainability in cement industry?
So we all know that, like cement is actually like a big issue because of the emissions, and because of the same reason, the clients are also concerned about it, because it's actually contributing a lot to the environment. So they want products which are having alternative cementitious materials. So generally, no one comes and asks for like a complete, like cementitious product which completely has cement in it. Everyone will be looking for something which is actually having, at least 50 percentage or more than that replacement of cement with either slag or something else. So that's actually the general tendency of the clients, at least for the civil projects, like the big projects where big arches and all those sort of stuff is actually involved. So everyone is actually kind of concerned about it, and I think at some point they all know that they have to give carbon taxes. So that's actually also something which is actually making them thinking. And when we actually look into like a cementitious product and a replacement product, I think like the service life of a product with which is actually having more alternative cementitious material is actually more, like for a cementitious product, it would be having maybe like 100 years of life cycle. But when we are actually using a alternative cementitious material incorporated onto it, we will be having something like more than 120 years or 130 years. We are getting extra 20 years of lifespan, and like it would be like less prone to corrosion when we consider the steel and all. So that's actually some of the things when the clients are looking in. So all this actually comes into the sustainability side of things, and also like the general aspect of the industry. So that's actually the tendency normally we actually have. But sustainability is actually something like we are thinking about a future too. Like the decisions we actually make now could actually impact the future. So we should be mindful about what we are doing. Everyone is actually thinking about it. I would actually believe, like, at least most of the industry, like it's like most of the industry is actually working now towards looking at the carbon footprint, doing the energy calculations and things like that. So everyone really do want to create a change for the future. So everyone is actually working on it. So yeah.
Thank you, Ansu. Another question that comes to mind for me is well, we talked about waste and the hierarchy, and people gravitate towards recycling, but we know that there are other opportunities prior to recycling. It's kind of lower down the hierarchy. In cement world, in that industry, what opportunities are there for, say, reuse or remanufacture or that type of thing? I'm not so familiar again with the industry, so I'm curious to hear, are they even opportunities to be explored? Yeah, what is there?
Um, so of course, recycling is actually like an important thing when it comes to the like the construction industry. Like recycling steel. is actually one thing, and recycle sand and stones, and but we don't actually use recycled cement at all. But that's actually something I think University of Cambridge is actually working at the minute. So they actually found out that normally for so I actually mentioned earlier that we actually obtain slag from the steel industry as a waste product, and in order for that they actually use a lime flux for the whole process. That's actually how they get it. But there was actually like an argument, like when we actually used recycled cement, we would actually get a product which is actually like cement itself but without much carbon emission. So that's actually like a sustainable option, and it's like we are getting like recycled steel and recycled cement with less emissions. So that's actually like a great thing, and it's actually like a great achievement if that would really be happening in the industry, like net zero towards, it's actually like a successful thing towards net zero. I think that's actually something they are working on at the minute. A lot of investigation is actually going on that. Yep.
This is really interesting conversation, and I particularly smiled when you used the word lime, lime flux. Yes,
Flux.
lime flux from the foundries, I would imagine. Um, a lot of people are now considering, and this is, I think, probably off topic, but just maybe you know something about this, and I want to ask this. A lot of people are trying to change the way they are heating up the scrap metal or even metal ingots. And I have not been in touch with metallurgy for a long time, but I think, if I remember it correctly, the composition of slag would really depend on what kind of lining you're using in the furnace, and what's going on in the furnace in terms of what ingots are going. So simply what I'm trying to ask is this, if steel and iron sector becomes sustainable and they change their compositions, it does it still stand that the slag you get from these foundries is still usable? I guess this is what I'm trying to ask, and I know this is off topic, but what would be your thoughts?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I really don't. I'm so sorry about it. But I don't know. I have never looked onto those things, to be honest.
How different is this slag from cement, the
So
slag based cement?
yeah, so when we actually look into the composition
Yeah.
of both cement and slag or any alternative cementitious materials, they would be having, calcium oxide, silicon dioxide, aluminum contents, and all the sort of stuff. So in cement, it's actually, calcium plays a very important role. It's like when the cement actually comes in contact with water, there's actually like gel formation, not a gel formation, it's actually something called CSH gel, calcium silicate hydrate. That's actually what it's called. That is
Is it a
actually,
soul by any chance?
huh.
Is it a soul by any chance, like a soul gel?
uh it's not a gel, to be honest. It's actually
Uh,
it's actually like a bone kind of formation, but I
right.
think
Okay.
it might be a soul gel, I'm not sure, but that's actually what we call the backbone of the cement. So that's
Mm-hmm.
actually what which gives strength to the cement. But when it comes to like slag, it's actually more of the aluminum contents in it that would actually give strength to it. So a bone called calcium aluminate silicate hydrate is actually formed when water comes in contact with the slag. So that is actually what gives strength to the slag, or the components which is actually having the slag. So aluminum contents in the slag has a major role. The composition of both these materials are like there, but the proportion of all this composition is actually different. Proportion of the
Mm,
materials, like each elements in it, is actually different.
mm,
So the
mm.
slag is having more aluminum contents in it, but
Yeah.
the cement is actually having more calcium and silicate contents in it. So the
Right.
materials involved, like not the materials, to be honest, the elements involved in it is actually like different.
Mm,
So
mm,
yeah.
mm. So, from business perspective, this sustainable cement, how is it perceived? Is it perceived as something that is expensive to buy by the customers? What do customers think about it?
So when we actually look into that, slag or PFA, they're less expensive than cement, because cement is actually more expensive. So that's actually another reason why clients always say like they want, like a product which is actually having, like 50% of cement replacement. So
And PFA is?
PFA, yeah, PFA is actually fly ash. I'm sorry that
Oh, sorry.
sorry, that's actually, like a term we actually use. It's
Yeah, yeah, that's
pulverized
fine.
fly ash, like powdered
All
fly
right.
ash. So that's actually PFA. So,
Yeah.
like that's actually one of the reasons why the clients always ask for like products with 40% or 60% or 50% cement replacement. Cement is actually more expensive than the slag or the other materials. But there's actually something called geopolymers or alkali activated concrete. So that's actually something what I'm actually working on. So that's something where it doesn't have cement, but it is actually having, combination of this slag and the fly ash. It's combined together with some chemicals, which is actually called the alkali-activated chemicals. So these activators are used to activate the whole stuff, and it would result uh, in a stuff which is actually having properties similar to that of, cement product. So yeah, it's actually having the performance similar to that of, cement product. And also that's actually like a topic of interest right now, but still people are hesitant to use it because there's actually not there's a lot of academic information on it, but there's actually
Yeah.
not so many industries or like companies willing to use it because of the expense associated with the activators. So
Yeah.
that's actually like a big challenge, but it would be like a big
Yeah.
breakthrough if people start to use it, because there's actually a lot of, technical uncertainties associated with it. But still,
Mm.
if that would actually really happen, it would be like a good thing, because it's actually net zero thing, because there's actually no carbon emission at all when it comes to, like alkali activated concrete, because we are using slag and ash, which is actually both waste materials, and combining with the chemical. So it's actually a great thing to do.
On the subject of materials, one of the topics we touch on at the People's Planet podcast is the circular economy.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and of experience on how might circular economy principles show up in concrete. I'll just pre-qualify that in terms of what I mean by circular economy, and that is products being kept in circulation at their highest value.
Mm-hmm.
So if we apply that definition to concrete, what might that look like? Is it even possible? I don't know.
To be honest, I really don't know, because I have never looked on. That's actually like something which I would like to learn. So
Hmm.
recently, I enrolled myself into like a course called Cambridge, a circular economy course offered by them. So I'm
Is that
actually
with the business school?
emeritus.
I did
Emeritus.
that course. It's a very good course.
Yeah.
Plug
So
for them.
ah, so I have actually my classes are starting by end of this month or something. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, the coursework is actually really, interesting. The whole structure of it. So after that course, maybe I think I would be able to answer that
Maybe
question.
we'll get you back on then.
Oh
We'll
yeah,
get you
yeah,
back
sure,
on
yeah.
after you've done the course, and then you can answer that
More
question.
insight. I'll throw more
Yeah,
insight on
yeah,
it.
yeah. Or ask that question.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we
just
need to have you back
ask
after the
that question
course.
of the tutors on the course, see what they
Oh
have to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, so I think this is great in terms of what you're telling, that the lifespan of cement is, or the product, cementitious product, is increasing, which means, which the way I understand it in layman terms, is that more life, less worry to produce more material, and then less worry to replace the existing infrastructure. So uh, what sort of do you do a lot of work in the lab? Are you developing new materials? How are you contributing to the cause of
um
sustainability?
so just like I mentioned earlier, alkali-activated concrete. That's actually something
Yeah.
I'm working on, and still working on it. Uh, so yeah, so and of course I actually do work with some other stuff. So there's actually something, so people were actually mostly interested about like slag and fly ash, but there's actually something called calcined clay, which is also called metakaolin. So that's also something I have actually worked with and I'm still working on. So we have actually got good results with it, with the replacement up to like like I can actually reveal it, sorry, but it gives you good results. So that's actually something the industry is actually working on, because when we actually look into the GGBS, the availability of GGBS in the supply chain, it would be there for like maybe next 10 years or 15 years or max 20 years. And after that,
So you
that's actually
said
slag.
GGPS.
That's
What
actually
is
the
that?
slag. So
Ah, okay.
so
Okay.
GGBS stands for ground granulated blast furnace slag. So that's actually the term. So
Ah,
slag,
okay. Got it.
the simple thing. So these are the terms we normally, use, like PFA, GGPS, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So the slag.
Yeah.
So when we actually look into the availability of it in the supply chain, max for 20 years it would be there. And after that, it's a complete uncertainty.
Mm.
And even the same thing with fly ash,
Mm-hmm.
because it would be there, but like nowadays the coal industry is actually like we are trying to like get the resources from renewable resources, like we are actually trying to like make everything renewable. So that's actually like a big change. And with the cut shorting of those stuff, we need more materials which we can rely on. So calcined clay or metakaolin is actually something people are working at the minute, incorporating them and studying them and looking at the lifespan and service life and all those sort of things. So yeah, that's also something which I work on. So yeah, that's actually the general thing. And of course, I'm also working as a knowledge transfer partner. So Usman and Marcel both are also like KTP associates. I actually work in the company, but also I work in the university. So it's actually like a good platform for you to stay in the academic side of things and also to stay in the company side of things, and you would actually gain the knowledge in both sides. And yeah, it's actually like a very good platform. So yeah, I actually work in the company and also in the university on a regular basis. Maybe once a week or something, I would actually go to the university and work on the lab related stuff, on the things which I cannot do in the company. Yeah, there's actually some like chemicals which I cannot actually use in the company, so I would actually go to the lab and work away with it. And instruments like
Hmm.
TGA, which is actually thermogravimetric analysis, which talks about the temperature and decomposition of materials and things like that. And there's also something called ICC, which is actually the isothermal calorimetry. So that actually talks about the heat of hydration. So that's actually something which is very important when it comes to cement. So it talks about like when the initial period, when the water comes in contact with the cement, there's actually like a sudden reaction taking place, then it goes down, and it's after like the span of 7 to 10 hours, it actually just goes up and does all the work, and the wonderful cement structure and strength is actually formed. So all the sort of stuff, that's actually what is involved in the analysis and stuff. So all those sort of things, I actually work in the lab and work with that and get the documentation. So yeah.
That's all very nice, and you use those words TGA and IPCC. I've spent a lot of time with TGA and DSE and all that, so
Mm-hmm.
I understand your pain. Very interesting. I think Marcel usually talks about towards the end of every episode, and we have asked this to almost every guest we have had,
Mm-hmm.
the knowledge transfer. But I'll let Marcel carry on with that part.
Yeah, thanks, Usman. I mean, the fact that you bring that up about being a KTP associate, and I think it's interesting for our audience to hear from the likes of yourself, because as a process and a methodology, that collaboration between academia and industry, where the associate is the conduit, about bringing those two organizations together. I think it's helpful for companies to hear, maybe more so than the academic side, because I think academia is probably used to it a bit more. But if I'm a company and I'm looking to pursue a knowledge transfer project, I think it's helpful to hear from the likes of an associate, that experience and the value that a company can expect. So, Ansu, would you be able to share with us, from your perspective, what value your company is gaining from you being there and the whole KTP project piece?
Yeah, sure. So I would like to start about something like my background was actually, like in chemistry and material science. I didn't have anything to do with concrete. So it's actually during my master's project in Queens, where I actually got a project on, like alternative binder systems, like the alkali-activated concrete and stuff like that. That's actually for the very first time I was actually realizing, okay, this is actually what is actually involved with the cement and concrete and all those sort of things. So it's actually the starting point from there. I realized, like, okay, this is actually interesting. And this KTP role actually came in, and it aligned with my, like my aims and what I wanted to do. So got into that. And something which I really enjoy about the whole knowledge transfer partnership program is actually the support you get from your company and also from your university. So it's like they're actually supporting throughout your project, and it's like by the end of the project, it's not like they want to gain all the things. It's like they want you to become a fully equipped person, where you actually have created something for yourself. That's actually the kind of thing my actually, at least my company and the university wants me to do. Like they want you to have a good professional profile after you actually complete the program. And it's also like they really want you to put the word out for them. And they really would like to like say that, so this is actually what we have done, and this is actually what we are looking and working on the innovation side of things. So that's actually like a good thing. And moreover, knowledge transfer partnership acts as a bridge between the company and the university, and you're actually acting as that bridge, transferring knowledge from the academic side of things to the industry, and the industrial side of things to the academy. So it's a very good platform, and they also have like a dedicated budget and resource where they would actually put all those things in you, and by the end of it, you would actually really get what you want. So yeah.
Thank you. Knowledge transfer. Well, what is one of the most effective method or tool you've found so far in your experience that is great for knowledge transfer? If you could tell us a little bit about that. Any tool or any method you think?
I actually do like to do the presentations. I'm actually more like a public speaker than report writing kind of side. So I like to present, I like to talk about what I do and what I have actually done. I actually enjoy doing that thing more than the report writing. But of course, my company and my academics do actually push me to write a lot rather than doing that. But I actually do enjoy that, because I actually feel like it's a way where you could actually spread more information and catch people's attention and tell them like this is actually what we're doing. But when it comes to report, no one is actually going to read a report which is actually 5 or 10 pages long. So it's like the images and everything involved in the presentation and how short you keep it, and more you speak, it would be more catchy. And and A tool which I would like to mention is actually the innovation strategy course. Like in that one, there was actually like a whole toolkit associated with, how well you can actually implement and how well you can actually understand your project, and like how well you could actually, put it out. So the toolkit which we used on for that, it was actually really good, because myself and the company and the academics, we all were able to understand the challenges and what we are actually coming across and what we will be facing in the future, and what we have actually already come across, all those things through that toolkit. So you actually get a picture of where you are and where you want to go. So correct me, Marcel, what was the name of that toolkit? Was it actually just innovation strategy toolkit,
I
or
think
was
it
it
was
something else?
Innovation Strategy Canvas. I remember writing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
acronym
yeah,
ISC.
yeah,
Um, so, but yes, and they chose that word canvas deliberately,
yeah,
because there are a number of other canvases out there in industry,
yeah,
that people seem to relate to. So they gave it that canvas descriptor,
yeah. The
which I
canvas,
think
the
works.
innovation canvas. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was actually like one of the best tools used.
Thank you. That's really good. I guess we can bring it to a close now. Well, Marcel, would you like to carry on? That yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Ansu. That's been really quite insightful. I don't think that I've met a concrete technologist before. So hopefully our paths continue to intertwine going forward, because the whole build industry piece and its contribution towards climate change and greenhouse gases is quite significant. Yes, we look at transport, but the build industry is not far behind. So, thank you for the insights today, and thank you, Usman, as always, for your contribution and production. So, on that note, we'll bring this episode of the People's Planet podcast to a close. Any last comments at all from anybody? If yes, please say now. Otherwise, till the next time, folks.
Just wanted to thank Ansu for being on the podcast, and Marcel, thank you. It's great to produce this show with you, and thank you to all the listeners for supporting us and listening our
Oh, and
podcast.
I forgot to talk about our media channels where you can find us. That's my
Yes.
bad. Um,
We have our email address, which is peoplesplanetpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, and we are also establishing a LinkedIn page. Marcel and I were talking about it last week, I guess. Yeah. So that's if the listeners want to get in touch, please do on our email address, which is again peoplesplanetpodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter and on LinkedIn.
thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.